1917 is an action film directed by Sam Mendes, written by Sam Mendes, Christy Wilson Carnes, and starring George McKay, Dean Charles Chapman, Benedict Cumberbatch, Colin Firth, and Mark Strong. 1917 is loosely based on real events, and it follows two soldiers who are tasked with delivering an urgent message to the front line to stop an ambush that will almost certainly kill 1,600 British soldiers. I was really excited for this film when I saw the trailer. I'm a huge fan of war films, but I have always wondered why there are so few films set during World War I. There's a ton of World War II films out there. Recent ones I can think of are Dunkirk was a great film. Saving Private Ryan wasn't recent, but I think it's probably one of the best World War II films ever made. And there's just been so many throughout the years. World War I offers a ton of ripe opportunity for storytelling, which hasn't really been explored too much in recent years. So I'm really happy to see that time period explored a little bit in 1917. Now, the technical draw of the film is that it's made to look like one continuous shot, with each shot blending into the next shot, next shot, next shot, next shot. And scene transitions are hidden behind characters walking in front of camera or going behind rocks or whatever it may be. But the cuts are hidden so that it just feels like one continuous flow of motion. Birdman, that came out a couple years ago with Michael Keaton, also did something very similar. Just this continuous flowing action from shot to shot to shot to shot to shot, which I think is interesting, but generally unnecessary. It's sort of a look what I can do kind of filmmaking technique, but I don't hate it. It's just one of those things that it doesn't really add much for me as a viewer, but I don't necessarily think it detracts from the experience too much. They got some beautiful cinematography. I mean, Roger Deakins, the master of natural light, really coming in full force here. I mean, his command of getting beautiful outdoor vista shots and then going and getting these beautiful deep rich shadows in underground bunkers or inside of houses, and getting this beautiful interplay of light in the camera. It's really has Roger Deakins written all over it. It's a really beautiful film, just with some striking imagery, whether we're looking at no man's land battlefields, blown out craters with bloody bodies and mud everywhere, or we're in decaying barns and country houses. It all feels so well made, both in terms of set direction and the props that they used, the sets that they built, but also just the way it's filmed, the angles they chose to use, how they chose to cut between things. It just has a wonderful energy to it and a beauty to it that is really surprising given the technical limitations of what they were doing. The performances are really good. We really only spend much time with our two main soldiers who are working their way through enemy territory, and they chit-chat every once in a while, but mostly they're just kind of on the run. They're on a time crunch. They got to deliver a message by a certain time or a lot of men are going to die. So they're just moving through, and they're in enemy territory, so they can't afford to be chit-chatting too much. And I think that's a good lead into one of my biggest problems with 1917, was that the way it's structured as a film is that at the very beginning of the movie, they get the orders that they need to deliver this message to the front line, which is great, because what that means is that we know exactly what's going on film-wise, and we get the plot going right away. And that's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. But what that does is, because it's basically a starter pistol at the start of the movie saying, you gotta go, we really lose out on a lot of opportunities to meet our characters, our two main characters, and really understand who they are and where they're going in their lives and where they've been. And you get little snippets here and there of their past, but really not that much. It's a very plot heavy film of, this is what's happening, this is what needs to happen. And the characters just keep pushing forward in that direction. Between that situation in terms of the plot and also the continuous camera movement, it sort of feels like a video game cutscene to me at times, especially in the first 20 minutes of the film. It really feels like at any moment the camera is going to pan around and I'm going to be in control and I'm going to start moving the character around and like trolling through this World War I battlefield. But after the first 20 minutes, there are a couple of opportunities where the plot slows down quite considerably, and we start getting more of a cinematic feel, and we get more of a more characterization, more humanity about it. And there's a scene in particular where they're hiding inside of a French woman's home. She's hiding in her home as the city around her has been destroyed. And it's a really wonderful human moment, and it really humanizes these characters. You know, up to that point, it had kind of just been a series of, you know, hardcore events that just kept happening. But that scene really slowed it down, solidified the core of the film, and then it let it move forward to a really rousing finale, which was awesome. The film is good. I really enjoyed it. I think between the beautiful cinematography, the story, which is simple but, you know, engaging, high stress. We have these guys going through these really high risk areas. There's bullets everywhere, and there's traps, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And you see them dealing with the realities of war. You know, they walk over several dead bodies, and you see rats eating corpses, and it's really stark, and it highlights the brutality of war. My overall recommendation for 1917 is that if you are a fan of high intensity war films, you're going to really love this film. It has a lot of action, a lot of tense moments. It's just a beautiful film to look at, filmed really smartly. You know, the technical achievement of filming everything in one take is difficult, and they make it look really easy. So that's impressive, to say the least. And there's just a lot of humanity on display too. You just get a lot of really, you know, not specific to characters. You just feel for other human beings when you watch this movie. And that is a really big achievement. This is a heck of a film to start out 2020 with. It's a really good film, and I recommend people go check it out. With all that being said, I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie. There are a couple of things that I think could have been done better, but it's really close. There are so many things to love about this film. It's made so well. I really recommend that if you want to see this film, you go see it in the theater. This is a film that really benefits from the big screen and that big theater sound. You know, if you wait and see it at home, it's still going to be a great movie. It's still going to be a great experience. But man, this is one of those films you really want to experience on the big screen. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, I'm going to be throwing up way more reviews coming up in the future. So subscribe for those if you're interested in hearing what I think about the upcoming films of 2020.